Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Country with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered this week's X-Men books, Heroes Reborn and Avengers titles, as well as Alien and Star Wars. So got a little bit of Marvel to go, plus this week's DC, and that'll be it. We'll kick things off with Miles Morales' Spider-Man number 27, continuing the Clone Saga. Where we left off, Miles had come upon the lab that his clones had set up and trashed it. When they arrived and saw what he'd done, he was webbed to the ceiling and accused of destroying their cure. So, Selim, the closing to a perfect clone of Miles, explains to Miles what's going on. And I'm an idiot because I'm just now realizing that his name is Miles spelled backwards. But he explains to them. He explains to Miles what happened. They were the three clones: Shift, Mind Spinner, and Selim were created by the Assessor. And it was not a pleasant trial. Their creation was not pleasant in the slightest. Everything that the assessor had done to Miles, he put the three through. But it turns out that Mindspinner and Selim plan to go capture, go kidnap Miles' mother, bring her back to the lab, and kill her in front of Miles. So Miles manages to talk to Shift and to a degree talks some sense into him. But he gets loose and he escapes to go save his mom. Mindspinner's at the hospital. He proves that he is the real deal. But Miles is able to take out a Mind Spinner, but he realizes that afterwards he and his mother realize that Selim has headed to the Morales household. Where he means that instead of taking Miles' mother, he's going to take Miles' father and Miles' baby sister. That is where the issue ends. Good issue, nice, simple way of explaining what the clones, how the clones were made, how the clones were made, who made them, what they've been through. And having Miles talk down Shift was also really great. It should be interesting to see how things conclude. I don't think the next issue is going to the concluding part, as it did not, as well. It's said to be continued, not to be concluded. But so far, the run has been solid, and this is again, every subsequent attempt at redoing the Clone Saga turns out well, as opposed to the original one, which did get all dragged out. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Venom number 35, or 200, in the legacy numbering. The finale of Donny Cates's, I'm just going to say it, career-defining run on the Wicked Web Spinner. So, usually landmark books like this, especially when they boast a host of artists, also have a host of writers. That is not the case here. Philip Kennedy Johnson, who's writing Alien as well, co-writes a few pages, but most of it is written by Cates. And in fact, usually when you have a milestone issue like this, and they have a bunch of artists involved, it's something like, okay, well, here's a story from this little creative team, and then this one, and it's usually a case, and usually some of the stories will kind of tell tales that connect to that creative team's run. But no, instead we're getting an epilogue, basically kind of the conclusion of Eddie Brock's story. So at the end of King in Black, Eddie Brock became the King in Black. He is now connected to the hive mind. But it turns out he is the symbiotes are out in the universe doing good. And Eddie is able to, when he's connected to the hive mind, he can see through them, and to a degree lead them. But but it turns out the hive is doing good throughout the galaxy. There are other things going on too. He's helping to rebuild church on the planet Fallow, the deepest corner of space. They work in concert to repair a great rift in the fabric of the cosmos before it unleashes hell into the universe. He rescues some travelers on Mount Wundagore. He meets with the Parliament of Gods. Shakes Thornton, they just thank for his part in the war with Null. That said, being connected to the hive mind, it's not something that a man is supposed to do, and it's aged him. And he looks very much like an old man. Turns out that Tony Stark gave him an apartment as a way of thanking him for saving the world, and so he and Dylan live in a nice, fairly nice apartment actually, and the original Venom symbiote is there, not being worn by Eddie. Now it's just kind of there, and he accompanies Dylan to school, disguised as a dog. Sleeper is also there, still in the form of a cat, having taken on the form of a cat. Apparently, Spidey called a bunch, but so Dylan asks what the symbiote's name is, and it's not like how humans do. In fact, human vocal cords can't even produce the sound. But the symbiote tells Dylan the name, and it actually has a kind of profound effect on Dylan. At school, he deals with a bullet. Oh, actually, we'll get back to Dylan in a second. Turns out that Eddie and Spider-Man were supposed to meet for lunch, and Eddie's kind of going over his new status quo with Peter, and it's also Peter is is kind of saying, hey, this is all my fault. I brought it back. I brought the symbiote back to Earth. I wasn't strong enough for it. And so Eddie says, symbiotes have been for thousands of years. The Beowulf and Grendel legends were built around them. Symbiotes were part of the Weapon Plus program. They were involved. Symbiotes fought in the Vietnam War, and but he, even when he's not connected directly to the Spire, he's still able to be the god of the symbiotes. Also, Eddie prevents a robbery, and he's got other stuff to do. But we see that he's meeting with the Guardians. He's meeting with the Avengers. He's meeting with the Quiet Council of Krakoa. Thinking about his life and or his past, and some of including recent parts like traveling to another dimension and running into that dimension's version of his wife. But there's still one person who's managed to evade him: the Maker, Reed Richards of Earth 1610, also known as the Ultimate Universe. The Maker, wearing a healed version of the Ultimate Venom symbiote, went through a portal and seemingly went back to his own universe. The Council of Reeds have basically said, we'll induct you into the Council if you can bring back you can fix your universe. Also, it turns out he's talking to the Silver Surfer about all this. But after he briefs the Avengers, Cap tells him that the offer still stands. To be an Avenger, but and Eddie explains when it comes if the Maker does try to and basically replace our Earth with his, then yeah, I'll be in on that. But you won't if you're one someone I can think of someone that would work. Flash Thompson. So as of the end of King in Black, Flash Thompson's back, looking for work and trying to figure out where he stands. But a group of guardsmen show up and kill the kid at the coffee shop. Turns out the kid has a terminal disease, will be dead within a week if it weren't for his symbiote. But Flash fights off the guardsmen and saves the kid. Both he and the kid have to run from. People are a little shaken up, understandably, about symbiotes after Null's invasion. Back with Dylan at school, he's got to deal with a bully, and in his mind he beats the hell out of the bully, but he lets his anger get the better of him. And we discover that this is just in his mind, as the bully pops him one, and the principal talks to him. Hey, you're not in trouble. I want to know what's going on. Ask him the normal questions. How are things at home? And so why can't you stay out of trouble? And Dylan explains that he's been fighting his entire life. After school, Dylan and the symbiote head home, and part of it, and he's. He is a little bit resentful about the fact that he had his powers taken away by his father. It was to save him, but still, this doesn't really know where he belongs now. But they hear someone's in trouble, and Dylan goes to help. The villain Jack Lantern is mugging an old woman. And symbiote tries to stop him. Jack Lantern takes a shot, shoots through the symbiote, and it hits Dylan in the chest. Symbiote bonds with Dylan, and they become Venom, and they take care of Jack. But Dylan and the symbiote return home. Eddie's waiting for them, and turns out he's totally fine with this. He figured it was gonna happen. It's cool. Basically kind of saying that, the three of them, Eddie, Dylan, and the symbiote, they're family. And so, but yeah, as Venom, Dylan is using, is going for web router chains, in part because all the comics he read growing up had chains, and he likes them. But yeah, Eddie's encouraging of Dylan. I would presume he's also say, you still, just because you're a superhero, I don't mean you don't have to go to school. And that is where the issue ends. Hopefully, what I'm kind of hoping becomes of Dylan Brock as Venom is I don't know. He's a teenager. There's a team of teenage heroes out there. Maybe, and it would be kind of neat to see him and Miles team up, and that lead to maybe Eddie or Dylan joining the champions. We'll see what happens. Anyway, on to our DC titles for the week. Starting with Legends of the Dark Knight #2. Where we left off. Batman was tracking a deadly bioweapon, and quite a few of the big-name criminals in Gotham had gotten samples of it, including the Joker. The Joker had used his sample of it, part of it at least, Batman would stop him, and Joker used what he had left in the helicopter they were both in, which then crashed into the Gotham River. So, Batman pulls himself out. He is giving in to the toxin. But he also pulls out Joker, performs CPR because, well, that's... So, he takes half of the antivirus he's got and gives the rest to Joker. The idea being he's not just going to let Joker die. They talk. He fires a flare. They talk a bit. It's made clear that this is taking place during one of Batman's full-on lone wolf points. These happen occasionally. It's definitely set post Cataclysm and No Man's Land, as at least Cataclysm is mentioned, and as the earthquake is mentioned, and yeah, so. But Joker gets brought in, and it's explained that a riddle was delivered to GCPD. 2 visions, 4 docs, twin sisters ready to ride out to see one big prize. C spelled S-E-A. So Batman kind of realizes this is kind of a lame riddle for Enigma. But he goes to investigate. He figures it out. Out on an amusement mile. It's explained there was a low-rate local game show called Paradox, run by a seaside producer who was using it to launder money until he was exposed and prosecuted. The idea is that people earn their way onto the show from winning big at the casino on the casino floor. The game was rigged to ensure that they bet it all and broke, trying to answer impossible questions that their playing opponents got the answers to ahead of time. But he thinks back. He thinks back briefly on the Riddler, and he thinks that he explains that sometimes he thinks that playing his games with Batman and the Gotham Police is more important than the money that Riddler always asks for. Like the Zodiac Killer, he delights in being chased. If Batman would hang Riddler upside down by his ankles off the Arkham Bridge, Riddler probably couldn't tell him the name of a single one of his victims. But he goes in, it's set up, and it's seeming, for Riddler, kind of simplistic. Falls through a trapdoor, wakes up in a cell with electrocuted bars. And he's woken up. The voice. It's not the voice of the Riddler, though. It's a young girl. Dressed similar to the Riddler, but yeah. She calls herself Quiz. And she asks what Batman would risk to save someone he loves. Not bad. Not bad. Interesting thing. I will, but I didn't see that coming. Oh yeah, quick review for Venom 200. Honestly, well done. I love the fact that instead of having just a handful of stories written by various writers and drawn by various artists, it's a story written by mostly one writer, a little bit by another, but drawn by various artists, and it was great. Sets up some. We get to set up for the fact that Flash Thompson's still out there, and it's clear that Eddie Brock was referring to Flash Thompson when talking to Captain America about having a Venom on the Avengers. Anyway, yeah. Moving on to our next book, we got Catwoman 32. Basically, we got people. So this one, where we left off, after she had managed to rescue, after the death of the guy that had captured and tried to add poison ivy to his collection, the mayor's office basically, huge crackdown on Alleytown is ordered. So, also, an old friend of hers has been captured by an assassin who'd been hired by the Penguin. He wants to know about Selena Kyle, so he tells the guy about a a job they worked in Italy years ago, going after a ruthless mafioso. The job went sideways. Some of them bought it. Most of the surviving ones split, except for Dude and Selena. And then they did the job themselves and pulled it off without killing the guy. One of the strays tells the cop about her, about Selena, and her growing up in Alley Town. She got noticed for just being that good, memorizing a map and working her way through the tunnels beforehand, so that if they got lost, she could actually help everyone get through it. But and following up with telling the cops, know this: you're always going to be too late, too slow, and 2 steps short when it comes to Selena Kyle. But yeah, the job in Sicily. Then another cop, one who's at Hadley, who's become at least somewhat close to Selena, is talking to Selena's sister. Very dark period from Selena's past is brought up. Selena's sister and her husband were kidnapped by Black Mask, and the sister's husband was killed by Black Mask. Yeah, Selena rescued her, but she had a plan. And when it was all said and done, she stood on the ledge and watched as Black Mask's fingers slipped one by one. Her advice to Hadley is, that he should stay away from her for his own sake. And so, yeah, her old friend is, since the assassin said that, if he answered questions, he would let him go. Well, he's let go. Of course, he's also stabbed and left in an alley, but yeah. Basically a man of his word. And that is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final book of the week. Nightwing, number 81. Where we left off, fire broke out in one of the encampments of homeless children, and Heartless had shown up. However, that's not where we pick up. A few issues previously, the mayor of Bloodhaven was killed by Blockbuster. The president of the city council, Linda Zuko, daughter of Tony Zuko, just the guy that killed Nightwing's parents, is named mayor, takes the oath of office and all that, and then goes to talk to the people who really run the city, the crime bosses, Blockbuster, Boss Maroney, yeah. So Nightwing deals with Heartless. Apparently Heartless is good. Also enhanced. So Nightwing adjusts his tactics and manages to take him down. Meanwhile, Tim Drake, Robin, is helping the homeless kids get off the dock. But it turns out there's a bomb on the dock, and it goes off. The Maritime Distress Signal channel is utilized by Oracle. Handful of ships show up: the Devon, the Sealy, the Leonardi, the Jurgens, Constant, Fernandez. But yeah, Nightwing did get hit in the head and passes out. He wakes up in his apartment, having been patched up by Robin and Barbara. And Barbara informs him of the new mayor. And while she is Tony Zuko's daughter, she wasn't raised by Zuko. She was raised by the Maroney crime family, which Dick says is so much worse. But he wants to. Nightwing wants to talk to Melinda, but yeah, both Babs and Tim are like, no. One, just because he's more sensible than Bruce, and that's totally a Bruce thing to do. However, Nightwing can't sleep, so he suits up, goes to breaks into the mayor's apartment, has to fight her bodyguard, who is not enhanced, but good, very good, and is probably knocked out by the mayor, who removes his mask, revealing he is Dick Grayson. He goes out and he makes a play for her, you know. He makes a move against her, and you know, it's like, you know, you work for the Maroney crime family. You're the daughter of Tony Zuko, and she says, no, she's not. She thought she was for a long time. She known the truth. Her father was named John Grayson. She's Nightwing's sister. And that is where the issue ends, with a bombshell that I could not have predicted in a million years. I figured she was going to try and, you know, it would either be a case of trying to do good and falling to corruption, or actually trying to do good and being killed for it. But no, she's. I will still see on those, but she's Nightwing's sister, presumably half sister. But wow, that was a good issue. Taylor's knocking it out of the park with Nightwing. Yeah, I'm just wow. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal account in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying live long and rock hard.